Welcome, everyone, to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Shira Litz, happy to be your host today, joined by my trusted colleagues, Vern Schellinger and Alki Thompson. Alki, love to see your shiny face if you're able to join us, but if not, that's cool.
On
Look,
my way.
you're you're coming.
On my way, yeah.
Okay, cool. So in our meetings, our this group has typically been an open Q&A. Myself and Vern and Alki, are happy to answer questions. I'm a career coach and a recruiter. Vern is a former HR executive and a career coach, and Alki is a recruiter and career coach. Like we all have these, these lenses, very practical lenses, and so we typically do open Q&A. In the last couple of months, we've done more of a curated networking experience, and if more people come on the call, we'll be able to do that a little bit more, where we've been doing some breakouts and having folks really connect with each other and open up their LinkedIn profiles to help make some intentional connections. Because we all have first level contacts that could be helpful to somebody else, right? And
Mhm.
so, one of the things I wanted to talk about, since we've been in this networking mode, I feel like it's a good thing to lean into talking about networking, right? There's lots of ways to do it, all kinds of things to consider. We could give, as Alki says, a master class on this. In fact, Vern and Alki and I are going to be talking about, even after this call, we'd like to put on actually an actual workshop for you guys at some point, to really dive into it. But I think there's some kind of key things that maybe we can just, kind of explore today. And one of them, is it's an interesting phenomenon, something that I think is important for those of you who are on this group, who are not just on this group, but also network. I think, Mike, you even alluded to it, other networking groups, right? Because there are a lot of job seeker ministries out there, right? There's places to meet people like y'all in these kinds of settings, in person and on Zoom and all the things, which is an interesting dynamic, right? Because you're meeting people who are more or less strangers, right? Some of them you might know better than others, but right, we're all kind of in this sort of, job search world together. And it's an interesting dynamic because when people come to a group like this, it's a very natural thing to want to be personal and relational, and right, it's a personal thing, it's a personal search that you're after, which makes complete sense. And people want to feel like you're being real and authentic and all the things. At the same time, and this just occurred to me yesterday, and it was one of these like revelatory moments, and I wanted to share this all with you because I'm hoping this will be very helpful. We also have to remember that the people that we are networking with and calls like this and in person and all of that are either, watch this, ready? Are either potential employers or people who can refer us to potential employers. I want you to think about what I'm saying. I'm going to say this really slowly and clearly because it was a moment that I had. I'm like, wow, I think this is going to be really helpful. When you are networking with folks like this, you don't even realize it, but you're in an interview. I want you to let that hang in the air for a second. You're in an interview. You want the people in this call to refer you to employers. When you can show up as somebody who adds value, it's great. When you show up as somebody who is trustworthy, credible, positive, it's great. Now, the other side can be a little challenging because we all have personal stories, don't we? We all have stuff, reasons, maybe a challenge around why we left our last job, personal things that are going on in our lives, all the things. It's what I call the difference between having a windshield conversation and a rear view mirror conversation. Windshield conversation versus a rear view mirror conversation. When you're showing up to a networking meeting, you want to have a windshield conversation. You want to show people how you can add value to your next employer. That's what people are looking for. Do you have credible skills? What's your character like? How proactive are you? Diligent, all the things, all the wonderful soft skills, right, that we're trying to portray, strategic, all these things. However, when we present more of a rear view mirror and we start talking about, oh, well, such and such happened. That was, this not so nice thing happened in my personal life, in my job situation, and we get kind of in a little complainy kind of mode. That impacts people. People are thinking, they're listening to that because they're getting to know you as a person. And the same thing is true when you're in an interview. We all know this, right? You want to avoid things, anything, for example, that could be discriminatory. So if you talk in an interview, we all know this. You don't talk about medical situations in an interview. You don't badmouth your employer. You don't do all the things. We know all of this. And yet some of us we feel more comfortable in a networking situation sharing these things because like, oh, it's personal and they're my friend. But actually, that colleague of yours is listening to you through a professional lens because you want them to help you land. Is this making sense? I think we all need to be really thoughtful around how we are showing up. And because I've been doing this for years, and Vern and Alki, we've been doing this for years, and we have met so many people who have so what every one of you on this call, you're all wonderful, right? You all have amazing, amazing skills. But just like we talk about Zoom backgrounds and we talk about lighting and we talk about all these things, right? This is an aspect I think that is important to remember because we want to show up well and not only that, we want to protect ourselves. We want to protect ourselves just like we would with an employer. And that's probably the best thing I can tell you. If you wouldn't share it with an employer, try not to share it with a colleague, okay? Because again, people can't unhear something. Can let me say that again? People can't unhear what they've heard. If you share a medical situation, if you share a discriminatory thing that happened, if you share that, challenging things happened in your last place of employment, any of those people can't unhear it. They will remember that and they will oftentimes create stories around that inadvertently that may not be very flattering to you and you don't even realize it. Okay. So to protect yourself, make sure that you are keeping a total windshield conversation. That also means reading the room. It also means when you're sharing about yourself, when you're sharing, keep your stories tight, right? Keep them really kind of concise. Make sure that you're sharing what is necessary, not too much information. Again, I'm hoping that this is going to be, and I know this is recorded, right? I'm hoping people are going to actually hear this because it's just so important that you show up as your best professional self every time you get on a call, every time you meet with somebody one-on-one, every time you show up in person to any of these groups. Is this helpful? Because I really want you to get that we care about how you show up because these relationships matter. You want somebody to refer you to a job, and that means that you need to show up in a way that really shows your credibility. So Alki and Vern, I know I sprung this on you guys. I didn't prepare that I was going to share all this, but I'm hoping that you'll both have some lenses around this.
Well, I don't have anything to add to what Shira said about showing up on your side of the fence, okay? But the other thing to remember is, and at Context Count, we talk about networking as teaching and giving. So everything Shira just said, think about it. You're teaching other people about who you are, what your character is, what you've done, and they're learning about you. And with that information, then they're able to potentially refer you to a client or a job or that type of thing. But at the same time, you don't want to make that conversation a one-way street. So if I've just shared, a lot of information with William, at some point in the conversation, I would say, William, so tell me a little bit more about who you are and what do you do and what are you looking for, so that you're able to potentially give back and help someone else.
Absolutely. And Vern, I know that you have a whole methodology on that and in this workshop that we're going to do, I know we're going to ask you to go into that because you've got some really wonderful tips.
Yeah.
So thanks. Alki, other thoughts around this?
Yeah, and with what Shira said, it doesn't mean don't be human.
Right.
It just means imagine what would happen if the only thing everybody remembered about you in a room of 100 people and they got 10 seconds with you. What will be their takeaway?
That's right.
What will they take away? And what will they remember about you when they do come across someone? They're like, oh, yeah, I met someone. There was this guy I met. Wait a minute. He was talking about all of his, problems and things like that. You want to remember great things about you, one great thing about you.
That's right. How you can add value. Again, windshield, windshield, windshield. If you're ever going to talk about rear view mirror, it should be in service to your windshield, right? A great accomplishment, skills you've learned, background, that kind of thing. But other than that, keep the windshield, the rear view mirror in the rear view mirror and try to look because everybody wants, right, a possibilitarian. People want forward, positive, encouraging, optimistic people who are going to add value. So anyway, that's my little speech. I thought it was a little nugget for the day, hoping that is helpful. Okay.
I'll add to, excuse me, I'll add to what you said. It's branding.
Yeah,
When people walk away, they're going to wonder, what's her career? What's his career brand?
that's right.
That's what you're doing in these networking situations. You're branding and you're getting people to understand and to get to know your brand, which is what you do well, what
Mhm.
title, what industry,
Mhm.
what you're looking for.
That's exactly right. How can you make an impact? That's what everybody wants to know. And when we talk about branding, people think of branding and they think of it more in the corporate side, like marketing, right? I know Monica's in the marketing world. You think about marketing, branding an organization. What does that actually mean? It means what is the value that that organization has to its constituents? Same thing with you. You're an Inc. William Inc., Mike Inc., Monica Inc., right? You are. It's the same thing. You're offering value to somebody. What is as we say, the UVP, the unique value proposition? And that means how can you make an impact? How can you make a positive difference in that employer's life? So hopefully that's helpful. So we are a small group today. I don't know who else is going to join us. So let's go back to, just for today, let's go back to our open Q&A. If we have another few people come in, we're still going to go at some point, go around the room and have everybody share what they're looking for so we can do a little bit of networking. But let's go back to our open Q&A format and then we'll kind of see how things evolve. So this is really, for those of you who are new, this is literally just what it is. It's open Q&A. So any question that you have about your job search, please feel free to ask it. And we would encourage you, again, along the lines of what we just talked about, when you're sharing your question, if you can share it in a way that is, kind of thoughtful and concise, and also that is inclusive to everyone, right? Because we're all a diverse group, and we want to make sure that the questions are something that we can address not just for you, but for everybody. So with that, anything goes. Resumes, interviewing, networking, whatever. We are happy to address it. Mike, it looks like you're itching to ask a question.
Yeah, yeah, I got a couple questions, but I'm still thinking of the topic that you just discussed, Shara, because there's that balance between authenticity to build trust
Correct.
versus, I'm going to say, a shaded windshield,
Yeah.
right? Where you're not, you're just doing your sales pitch,
Right.
right?
That's right.
And, over the last 7 months, I've had virtual meetings with 350 people.
Hmm.
And I'll say at least half of them go into some personal topic. Hey, they just moved here. I was with a gentleman last week where um, his house got burnt down by the wildfires and things like that. To me, some of that kind of stuff doesn't break down
Hmm.
what I think of the person,
Hmm.
right? So there's, to me, that's where I'm balancing a little bit in my head. I
Hmm.
get the fact that you don't want negative constructs
Right.
uh, coming out that, oh, Mike's a negative thinker
Right.
type of
Or
thoughts, right?
complainer, that kind of thing. We don't want that,
Yes,
right? But yes, a little
right.
humanity certainly can help. It's a balance. You're right. It's like you're threading a very fine needle here. There's no like one way to do this, but we just want to make sure that you are balanced. Yes, allow a little humanity, of course. In general, I mean, you do that in an office situation too. People, you got
Yep.
your family and all these things. It's just that when the conversation quickly shifts into a long soliloquy of here's the
Mhm.
problem, 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 that can draw people a little bit down the wrong direction. A little bit, right? To show that you're human for sure. But mostly you want this to be about how you can add value because it's a professional setting, right? It's not
Yep.
there are different settings and for different kinds of conversations. We're just wanting to maybe rebalance, right? A little bit here
Yep.
toward more of the professional and make sure that because look, anybody on this call who's in job transition, which most people come to this call because they are, some people in long-term transition, and particularly right now with the federal disruption and all the things, it is really, really challenging. And we appreciate that's why we're here. We're here to help, right? And to help us help you the best, We want you to present yourself in the most positive light so that you can land well. That's why we're saying this.
I
Mhm.
I, I was going to add, and you use my example, sure. Case in point, if you worked for FedGov and you were laid off, that's the conversation right now I'm having with all the people that I'm talking to who are FedGov or FedGov adjacent or contractors.
Mhm.
So when I start out my conversations, a lot of time I'm like, you work there, tough times, huh? Or this is crazy time. The question is, how do you answer that question and roll it into the next thing? So I'm not going to give all my examples, but a lot of people have said, yeah, it was tough. Me and my whole team got crushed, but I had to rework myself. And now I'm looking and I accept the fact that for all my years of work, now I'm looking private sector, now I'm looking nonprofit, and I hope you can help me.
Gotcha.
So,
Exactly.
Yep.
Forward, positive. Yep, exactly. To the point. Because at the end of the day, when you're networking with somebody, they're there to help you and you're there to help them. Just like
Hmm.
any relationship you have. Hey, you have a need. What's the need? Let's go forward. And you say, well, what's the thing that I can offer? Let's move it forward. So again, yes, there's the humanity piece, but it's like, let's go forward and let's tackle this together.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So my question is, I had an interview. So I'll share the context, and I'm not going into the negative space, just context. I've been laid off 4 out of the last 5 jobs.
Mm,
Okay. And so my tenure, if you look at my,
mm,
it's okay, 2 years, 1.5 years
mm,
type of thing. And I had an interview with a recruiter from Berkshire Hathaway, and he said, Mike, it looks like you're a job hopper.
mhm,
Okay. I need you to create a Mike's Journey document and send it
mm,
to me. And I got some advice from someone to put on my resume,
mhm,
and after, company ABC role, and then a sentence or two.
mhm.
At the end of that, put a short little thing laid off due to significant
That's what I was going to
financial
recommend.
concern.
That's exactly what I
Okay.
was going to recommend. A little
Okay.
like a 9-point font, really small.
Yep.
Like right, what I typically recommend in the situations like that is okay. So here, classic resume format. You've
Yep.
got your company and title on the left margin, and you've got your dates on the right margin. Okay, and under your dates, typically there's some white space, right? Use that white space, little tiny font like this in parens, reason for leaving colon, little
Okay.
phrase. Position eliminated, organization restructured, something, something, federal disruption, whatever it is, right? But something small, 3, 4, 5 words, simple.
Hmm.
But what that does is it shows you, it helps the employer to know that you've anticipated the objection. You're not hiding from it. You're leaning into it and saying, look, I'm already addressing it because I already sense that there's going to be an issue here. Let me know that let me let you know all is well.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good way to do it. Simple. It's very quick.
especially since it wasn't your fault either. And
Right.
Yeah, I
and
mean,
sorry that happened to you too. It's
Yeah,
crazy, but
that's tough.
the good news, the way I've always told candidates, like, hey, this works for you because you didn't walk out the door yourself those 4 times. It was involuntary. Definitely put that. That's like that's in your favor. And say, hey, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
yeah, and
Especially
Yeah,
it's
when
and I put something I've learned like resiliency and that kind of stuff because of ABC. So it's just I don't want to
and
keep getting screened out or possibly screened out. I don't know.
yeah.
Go ahead, Vern.
And recognize this. I'm just tagging on to what Shira said. The flip side of that is when you don't have that information there, what the interviewer does is they
fill in the
assume.
blank.
They assume. They look at it and they say, "Oh, only 1 year, 2 years.
Right.
Oh,
What's the
this guy
problem?
must be a job hopper."
That's right.
Now,
Yeah.
there's no it's called a ladder of inference. I see this information and I tell myself a story which may not have any bearing to the
Mhm.
actual truth of the matter, which
That's
is in your case what it
Right.
was.
that's right.
So again, to Shira's point, you put that in there, and now they've got more information, and that it's harder for they can't draw that same conclusion.
Mhm. That's right.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And look, I mean, most people don't put that on their resume, but it's not a
Uh-huh.
bad thing. It really isn't a bad idea for anybody to think about it because employers do want to know often, why did you leave? And if you already anticipate it, you're just answering the question before they ask it.
Answer
Yeah,
the question before us recruiters and everybody else
Right.
ask the question, especially
Right.
if you have a good answer like that.
Mhm.
The more questions you can answer for us
Answer.
on your resume,
Mhm.
do it
The
because it
less
tells your
hesitation.
story and you get to control your own narrative.
That's right.
yeah. Can I jump please and
Please.
say something? This is Hobbit. Hi. Uh, it's one thing for Mike. From the title, I'm seeing like you're architect, so you've been like a tech guy, and then the CTO, or you've been running, managing, and also like hands-on. Um, I will object and say something different than the rest, and I would say don't put anything. Why? Because you're gonna open on yourself like so many questions, and if they're not gonna ask you, now they have a reason to ask you. So it's fine if you jump from one place to another place, but the thing is, keep. I think one thing to come back strong. It's abusive market. People are not having mercy anymore. Just short terms come do it, and sometimes they're ready to get rid of it. But so what you can do for yourself is just like make yourself like ready tech wise to take over something else, like the next tech that you want to show them that you're expert in. And that's my take. That I say like just uh, showing expertise or showing a project in that area or articles about that. I think that's they will see that you still doing your stuff and going above and beyond. Yeah, sorry, I
No,
took
that's
so
great.
long.
It's a very interesting perspective. And in the world of job search, you have two questions, you get five opinions, right? This is normal, right? People
Yeah.
have all
Oh,
kinds of very
absolutely.
legitimate perspectives, and yours is absolutely legitimate, Hovik. So maybe this is a time for us to maybe go even a higher level than this particular part of the conversation, and that is to go back to a concept that Vern and Alki and I talk about a lot, and that is the fact that employers are risk averse. I want to talk about that. Okay. What does that mean? Alki, Vern, and myself, we have all been in hiring positions. Vern as an HR professional, Alki and I as third-party recruiters. We hire, we place people, we hire people, we vet resumes. What's going on with that? What is actually going on from the perspective of the recruiter? Now, you've got your own vetting, all the things that are important to you as a job seeker. We're just going to press pause on that, but we're going to look at it from the employer's perspective. The whole thing about tenure is one element for some employers where they look at that and go, that could be an area of risk. Now, not everybody. Some people actually are fine with movement, right? But tenure is one of those things where a lot of employers will say, you know what? I want someone who's going to stick around because I believe as an employer, I'm going to get more and more out of my investment because they're making an investment. In fact, I'll give you a quick example, not having to do with tenure, but around the investment thing. Just the other day, I'm doing a search right now for a VP level job. And I was talking to the employer and we were talking about the benefits package of the employer. And she said to me something very interesting. And Vern, you'll probably appreciate this in your HR hat. She says, we just updated our benefits. I said, in what way? She goes, well, we changed the start date for our entry to our 401k plan. This organization is very generous. They give what's called a defined contribution. They contribute 4% to the 401k, regardless of there's not a match. It's just they just contribute. And they said because we do that, we've decided recently, like this month, last month, that they now want to have a 6 month start date entry point for that. They used to give it immediately, but they said no, no, we want to wait to make sure that the person stays for 6 months to see if because we're investing in them we want to make sure that they're going to stick around for a while. And it's a very interesting perspective. And it's a business perspective, it's a business lens. And I say that because that is just indicative of this idea that employers are trying to minimize their risk. If they're going to invest in you financially and other ways, they want to make sure that you're going to be there for a while, that you're going to be able to solve their problems over the long term, that you're not going to just leave for more money because somebody, offers you something in 8 months and it looks more attractive. Look, we're all mostly in an at-will state, so it's not that you can't do that as a free country, right? But they're trying to make a good business decision, and tenure can be one of those things. Now, but that said, to Hovik's point, skill set is also a very important thing. So your ability to showcase the projects you've done, the skills you've acquired, the impact you've made, another area, right, that they're looking for. And they're looking for, hopefully industry relevance, hopefully title relevance. When people will come in, we have a lot of folks right now who are very open to, job seekers who are open to taking a step back. That's a little risky for an employer, right? When you've been at I'm making this up, vice president level and you're, applying for a senior manager role, the employer will most likely go, that's a flight risk. They're only open to this because they need a job, but what the reality is they're going to get here and in 3 months they're going to knock on our door for a promotion. And we can't give them one, right? We want someone who's not overqualified, not someone who's going to leave pretty quickly, right? So all of these different lenses on paper, that's just on paper. Then the interview, are you going to fit in with the team? Could culture fit? Are you a strategic thinker? Are you going to be able to engage with our customers well? Or whatever the soft skill set is that they need you to exhibit for that role. And every role is different. Some people want strategic, some people want the details, some people want whatever. Can you be a cross-functional collaborator? Blah, blah, blah. Lot of different elements. But on the paper side, which is the first thing that they get to see, unless your reputation precedes you, let me say it again, unless your reputation precedes you and you get in through an internal champion, hopefully all y'all are networking to that point where you're getting people who know you, love you, trust you, who are referring you. But if they just see the piece of paper, that quick 2-second scan, if eyeballs even see the resume, which a lot of people times they don't now with AI and ATSs, if they do scan the piece of paper, it's all happening super fast. So sometimes maybe in a tech role, yeah, project-based accomplishments are going to be super important. For other people, for other employers, yeah, they may be looking at tenure and maybe they do want you to overcome it because otherwise they might screen you out. I've seen employers screen people out on paper because the tenure doesn't look good and they don't even take the time to ask the candidate. So there's this balancing act, and we're not saying there's any one way to do this because Hovik makes a really good point. That's another very important perspective. Yeah, you put it on there. Yeah, maybe you are opening yourself up to have a conversation. But on the other hand, if you don't put it there and somebody leaves it, is left to their own device to make up a story, they may screen you out. So we're not saying there is one way to do this because people are people. Recruiters are human beings, right? Every one of us has a different lens. We're just trying to give you some helpful advice so you can make an educated decision based on your own situation, what might be the right step for you, if that's helpful. Vernon Alki, you want to add to that?
Nothing there, Chair. No.
Yeah, every situation is different. Every industry is different. Every employer and their need are different. So, for example, and you're in the technical space. Sometimes people just need a body right now. They don't care about a lot of things. They just need the talent right now because they have a need to fill. Other times, it's more strategic, and it is for the long term and for the long haul. So, in my 14 years, generally speaking, tenure on a resume, and it shouldn't be, but it's the scariest thing I've seen employers afraid of. There's a lot of things they're afraid of when Shira talked about being risk averse, but your story, that's what it is. It's gaps and holes in your story. When they look at your resume and they start seeing what are flags to them, you may have all kinds of reasons and explanations, but to Shira's point, at the end of the day, the job search is it's a roll of the dice. A lot of people play it risky, don't care. Some people don't have much money to gamble with. And so you want to give yourself the best chance possible because on the other side of the table, they're really, really afraid. The decisions that they make cost and have impact all the way up the food chain and to the budget and throughout and all those types of things. So generally speaking, on this call, we tell you to give yourself the best chances, possible. But of course, any decision you make and anything you put on your resume, be prepared to defend it and the results that you get from it. So, but yeah, no situation is the same. And to Shira's point, yep, I'm a headhunter now and an independent recruiter now, but I've also worked on the inside as a corporate recruiter going through ATSs and all of that. And I can tell you, with not a lot of time and 25 recruitments and 50 to 300 candidates for each of those recruitments, my time isn't long. I'm doing a quick glance. I stick to the stories that are easier and safest for my client, who's my employer and my hiring manager. and I get back to the other people later. And I'm a candidate advocate. Like I tell stories, I fight for people, I push back so many times to employers, but at the end of the day, they don't have that kind of time, and they don't have time to hear these advocacy stories. Their consensus is, Alki, yeah, I hear you, she's great, but who else do you have?
Mhm.
Okay, can I ask you a
Yeah,
question, please?
sure.
Yeah, what are the things that you see as red flag? I'm a guy who didn't do interviews for a long time, and the interviews when I switch jobs, it's basically they reach out, come join with us, because this is something they want me to be able to build for them. So I have like roughly 15 years of experience in the tech industry, and I would love to see what these red flags can be that I'm thinking about this also, how to narrate my resume.
To So at first I was like, oh boy, we don't have enough time to talk about what are the red flags, but the easy answer is
Yeah,
going
sorry
back
about
to,
that.
no, you're good.
First time joining.
You're good. The easy answer is, because you're in the tech space, I just think about the tech space. Not to say people in tech don't have personalities, but I heard this last week in a conversation with people in the tech space, and they were like, you know what? In our space, you don't care about a lot of the things that a lot of people like in marketing and comms and healthcare and all those types of things. We have hard work to do, as far as like hard hands-on work to do. We're not here to look over your shoulder and do XYZ. You're an expert. You have certifications and licenses that other people don't have. You're a rare talent. So can you just get in here? And I know I'm using this statement, but you didn't kill anybody, did you? Well, if you didn't kill anybody, come on in, and we can use you right away. Um, and I'm making a lot of general statements, but a technical skill, technical expertise like that is in rare demand, and it always will be. And so you have a great story where you basically have been snatched up any times you've been in transition, because you offer the type of value that supersedes the risk.
Yeah. And I just want to tag on to something that Shira said, which is the other side of the coin. She mentioned, unless your resume shows up, your reputation shows up before you do. And so we've been talking a lot about networking, and the best way to overcome any fears the employer might have is for someone to get in touch with your employer and says, "Hey, I used to work with Mike, and Mike, is just the hardest working tech, super, tech guy. He did a fabulous job at our company." And the more that an employer can hear from an independent source that knows you well and can speak to your skills, your abilities, and really basically recommend you for the job, that goes a long way, because that's real and tangible, as opposed to, as Elke and Chair have been saying, all the recruiter can do is look at the words on a piece of paper, and then they make kind of judgments based on that, as opposed to someone really going to bat for you and um, and helping you at least get to the interview, which is what you've got to do in any job search. And the other piece of this is, in a really well-developed network, you get to tap into what is called the hidden job market. And if you don't know what that is, that basically is there are a lot of jobs that are never posted anywhere.
Over
So,
80%, they say.
yeah.
Yeah. And these days, by the way, and Alki actually privately shared something with Vern and I, privately, and Alki and Monica, I do see your hand, around AI, and how there are these, if I'm going to say this correctly, Alki, AI bots that are actually creating fake resumes and submitting them to employers, which is clogging the market even more. So already, before the federal disruption, before AI, all of these things, already the job boards were flooded. People were getting 100 to 200 resumes, and recruiters were getting 100 to 200 resumes in the first 24 to 48 hours. Anyway, federal disruption happens, we get a flood. Now we have all these AI problems, and employers are just overwhelmed, right? And so they're going to be more likely to use their private networks to go find people rather than get this onslaught of resumes on the job boards. you know? And by the way, Monster and Career Builder just went bankrupt. And I mean, it's a lot of disruption in the job board world. So that's why we constantly focus on the networking. And one thing, by the way, with networking also in terms of the relationships, the people who, as I like to say, know you, love you, we say know, like, and trust. I say know you, love you, and trust you. Okay. The people who really like know, your former colleagues, former supervisors, those kinds of folks, when they land their next role, a lot of times they can reach back and pull you in. And it's a lot of the ways that people get jobs, specifically former colleagues, coworkers, supervisors. Yes, other people can help you too. And please continue to network and do all the things. But remember, those are incredibly important relationships because they're the ones who know your work. And when they go to that next employer, they're like, oh, have I got a person for you? Bring in Mike, right? And they like literally hand pluck you. So continue to keep up with those people, even if you've already told them you're looking. Keep up. You never know. Things change. You don't keep up with them on LinkedIn. They might have moved to a new job, whatever. Reach back out. That could be a really trusted resource. So I just went off a little tangent, but I think it's worth noting. Monica.
I think you sort of answered part of my question. I mean, I'm in the space where the whole international development sector has collapsed. And so usually people are very good about referring you and now we're just collapsed. And so I do have like one employee referral in for Leidos. Hopefully that works. The person is somebody who knows my analytical skills very well. So that's good. In other situations where I've been trying to land in roles serving veterans, I've had not so good luck. I've had people who I know through networking events reach out, and of course, they don't know me other than what I've said in networking calls like this. And it hasn't panned out, or it even resulted in like an immediate no. And so it's hard because if I want to break into a different industry and I have no choice, the people relevant to that industry only know me through networking calls. They don't know my work. And so it's, my boss of like more than 20 years is a Vietnam vet, but honestly, he's 80 now and retired. So I don't know where that takes me. He worked part-time up until last year, but when you have previous bosses who are literally in their 80s or deceased, it makes it tougher when you're trying to
So
transition.
let me interject here, Monica, because you're bringing up actually another very important point around career shifting, and I would like everybody to hear this, because whether this applies to you or somebody that you know, it's worth talking about for a minute. And I want to talk about something that I'll just call, and Alki used the term earlier, the whole world of being adjacent. Being adjacent. So one of my concepts, Vern, Alki, and I have all kinds of metaphors and similes and things that we use. Okay. Mine has to do, I call it the family tree of networking. That's my thing. Okay. And I talk about twins, siblings, first cousins, and second cousins. Professionally, your twin is either somebody who does exactly what you do, what I call your lane. They're in your lane, they do exactly what you do, or they're exactly in your community. Okay, so for Monica, her twin professionally would be like a Marcom kind of person. Community would be international development. Okay, so that's the people who would totally understand her world. Okay, so think about that's the twin. But then there's the sibling, and the sibling is both sides. Somebody who understands what you do and industry wise, community wise, gets it. The adjacent thing is where you come, that's the sibling, and then maybe even the first cousin is where a lot of people need to start thinking about when they're trying to make a shift. And here's the important point, and Monica, you alluded to it. Just because you have an interest in going in a different direction doesn't necessarily mean the employer is going to find you attractive to move in that direction because they are managing their risk. If your community or your lane that you're shifting to is a fifth cousin to them, they're like, we're not really related anymore. Okay. in their mind. That's why I use the family tree thing, because it's really, I mean, think about it. It's your siblings, your first cousins, all these things. When you get to third, fourth, fifth cousin, it's like, who are you? Because, and the reason why they think that way is because of learning curve. Learning curve. When you step into a role, they don't have a lot of time to train you on the skills, on the environment, the culture, the community, the constituents, the whatever, the jargon that they speak. Okay. So be very, very, very cautious when you want to, when you have a personal passion for something or are open to something else. Think to yourself, would an employer find me attractive? If not, what can I do about it? So, for example, a few years ago, happened to have two coaching clients at the exact same time. We were both corporate-y kind of people, and they both wanted to shift into the environmental sector, like environment, like save the environment. It was right around the same time, and I watched their journey. And man, oh man, they leaned in. I mean, started networking up a storm in that community to show that they really were committed to that community. They built a lot of trust in that community, and it took time, but they were really, really leaned in, and it worked eventually. Eventually, it's not an immediate thing. You have to show people. But even then, they had to overcome. They didn't know the jargon and all the things. They had to really do it. My point is that if you're looking to land sooner than later, be thinking about trying to stay as close to the community that you came from. But to Monica's point, international development, right, collapse. This is what I would offer Monica or anybody here. What's the adjacent community, the sibling community, even the first cousin community, where someone can be like, oh, you are actually still part of our family. You're still close enough where you're less of a risk than if you are a fifth cousin. Okay. So this isn't to me to advise anybody right now, but just to be thinking about how do you stay as close to your siblings and twins as possible so people feel more comfortable. The employer needs to minimize their risk. That's all. Just be thinking about that. Hope that helped.
What's interesting is Monica, I actually thought about you and a couple of other people on our call because this week it wasn't my opportunity. I was gonna throw a hat in the ring to learn more about it, but I saw an opportunity with I think it was a private sector organization who needed a policy person with international development experience and ties. And I was looking at it and I made those three connects like policy, international development, and who's this organization? What type of work do they do? And I was busy doing something else, but it popped up on LinkedIn while I was on the phone and doing some other things with someone else. But I was thinking in my head, all right, this isn't exactly what Monica does. It's not exactly what some of the other people on our call who work with USAID and others, but they're looking for somebody who knows that world. Now, is the function of the job something that these people have done, blah, 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 blah. But my eyes lit up because I saw the one, two, three, four dots of connection, the possibilities of connection and adjacency, because we recruiters do it all the time. We're always looking how we repurpose, twist, bend, and flex talent, but it still has to make sense to the people who need you, no matter how good your skills are, right. No matter how, how nice you dress or whatever.
How passionate you are about the mission. It
doesn't matter.
Business sense for them.
Can you send me the job? I don't know if it's real. It's frustrating because you go to these other coaching events and it seems like it's generic blah 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 blah. You have to think adjacent and you have to be open to possibilities. And it's like, okay, I'm open to possibilities. How does that translate into my real life?
Well, that's why we're trying to be no, honestly, Monica, I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's just say this. There are a lot of opinions out here. Okay. What's maybe a little different about me and Alki and Vern is that we sit in the seat. We've are or were recruiters. This is very, very practical advice that we're trying to give you. We're not perfect. There's no one way to do things, but we really, really are trying to give you the most practical advice. We're trying to give you an employer's lens. And so when people say, oh, possibilities and you can be open, and that's not a bad thing. It's just that it's not the most practical thing because the employer feels risky. Okay.
Well, also, like, what does that mean? Like, okay,
So
I'm applying for any job that I feel
No, no,
qualified
no,
for.
no. And
I'm
then
not applying for jobs, but I mean, someone, I've heard I should apply for 15 jobs a week. I mean, honestly, I'm not finding that many that I'm
no,
qualified for.
correct.
But the other thing that that means is people are just trying to be friendly and nice in the conversation. Okay,
Mm.
how can I help you?
How
Yeah. And what are your possibilities? Yeah. And you seem like a really nice person.
you could
But
do this, you could do
yeah,
that. If they don't have an
but
employer's lens, it's going to be,
yeah,
yeah.
I,
the overriding thing in terms of all of these referrals and everything we're talking about is you need to think about the strength of the relationship with the person that you're talking to in terms of can they recommend you to an employer or that type of thing? The stronger the relationship, and by stronger, I mean they know you, they know your competence, they know your skills. They can actually give an example of a project you worked on. Now, not everybody you're working on, networking with is going to know that level of detail about who you are and how good you are. But the people that are in your network and have you and you have the strongest relationship with, they're the ones that most likely can really go to bat for you or introduce you to other people in their network. And again, a positive introduction. Monica, you really need to talk to my friend Jeff. Jeff can really help you. And Jeff, knowing based on the strength of our relationship, I don't know, he doesn't know Monica from, anybody else, but because Vern is, recommending her, I'm certainly going to talk to her because I'll do Vern a favor anytime he asks, and Jeff knows that I will do him a favor anytime he asks.
And that, Vern, what you just said, is the way that many people make their career shift
Yes.
through a trusted relationship who can march you over to an employer and say to the employer, look, you're looking for, I'm making this up, Monica, right? A veteran something something job, right? Look, I got this lady, Monica. I know on paper she doesn't look. Forget that. Trust me on this. You gotta meet her. That often is how people make the shift. If somebody's actually saying about you, you're a trusted person. Oh, and by the way, then they tell your story. I know what it says on paper. However, look, this is a situation and she's really interested in it. Would you just meet her? Take a risk. She's worth it. That's how it often happens. But if it's just on paper, if you're just competing with everybody else, nameless, faceless, they're only going to see what they're going to see. They're not going to know your interest level. They're not going to know anything about you. All they're going to be able to do is vet you objectively. You want someone to be subjective about you and actually march you over and say, this is somebody who's worth giving a shot.
two two quick things. One is a follow-up to what you just finished, Shira and Vern, and then the other one is the point to answer your question, Monica, just to go back to that other opportunity and another very relevant post I saw on LinkedIn this week. One, what Shira just said, you're going to Home Depot, you're looking for a particular clamp or whatever, and you've been told that's the clamp you got to use. But while you're in that aisle looking for it, somebody else is like, you know what, you can also use this. Or the Home Depot person says, you could use either one of these too. Expert, Home Depot, they should know what they're talking about. You're probably going to go with it because they vouched for and they're an expert in that area. And they're telling you, oh, yeah, these work too. If you get that type of a situation, which is what Vern and Shira just said, they can then vouch. But you can't get to that without getting in the room first. You've got to get in the room. And that's where that situation applies. This week, relative to that opportunity, one of the other things I saw was there was already over hundreds of applicants already for that opportunity that I saw. So what I knew was I've got to talk to somebody in the room before I even contact my people because I'm not reaching out to them or sending them to try and fit around peg, somebody who's doing one thing before, but possibly can transfer or transition their skills. I don't have any information about that. And why do that if there's over 500 candidates who probably fit perfectly? So they're probably not even going to get in the room. The last thing I'll say is there was a post this week that someone made when they said, hey, a lot of people have talked themselves out of opportunities because they weren't qualified. And the post was about, hey, don't let that hurt your confidence. Get right out there and apply, even if you don't qualify. And most of the posts on the chain were like, "Oh yeah, you should do it. Don't, I did that too, and hey, I knocked myself for doing that." So I watched it and I was like, "Oh boy, here we go for recruiters," because I'm like, you guys are also, and I did a post that was nicely put with tact to say what you also might want to think about is if everybody starts running out and doing that, that's going to push you down even further
It clogs the
from
market.
them being able to see you because now they have to go through 1,000 other people who are at the wrong party. They're not even at the right party. This
Not
is
even
a
going to
party
see.
for people like you. And when you start opening both doors saying, all right, we can't fill the room, everybody else bring their cousins and their grandma, and that's going to crowd the room. And now people are wondering, why don't I ever get any feedback, Alki? Why don't I ever get a phone call? It's because recruiters are overwhelmed because there's so many people, not to mention the bots and the real scammers who are applying for and posting fake jobs. It's all messy now. So
Because we are in a digital job search world.
Yeah.
All of us on this call, I think, are old enough to remember lick the envelope time. Remember? We all remember that. Yeah. Very different. You had to go to Staples and get it on a nice piece of paper and go to put the stamp on. That took time. Many fewer applicants. Okay. Think about it. Now we do click of a button. Yes, I know applications take time to fill out, but it's a click of a button. And especially with LinkedIn, easy apply, boom. Hundreds, thousands of resumes. Clogging. And the recruiter has to deal with all of that. That's the reality. And that's why when the job is not posted, when it's hidden from the market, and you can network your way, the air is very thin up there. Much, 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 much less competition to the point where sometimes they'll even do a creative hire, what we call a creative hire, meaning hire you for a job that doesn't even exist, or hire you because you got great skills, or they're just sort of a twinkle in their eye and they haven't posted it, they haven't even hardly put it out to market, but you're the person that's got the thing that they want, and you hardly have any competition. In fact, Vern Alke and I, we're all probably familiar, with the RFP process. In fact, Monica and others probably are too. When somebody is going after a job, after a gig or a consulting gig or project or whatever, when that employer, right, is looking to vet multiple people, we know if there's going to be 25 other vendors that are, a lot of us just don't even apply. We're like, no, it's too much competition. But if we have a relationship, when they don't even go after anybody else, or maybe they're vetting two people, we have a much more likely, and then we're going to invest time in writing that proposal. Makes sense. Very same thing. Resume and proposal, very, very similar. So we just want to let you know, go after the relationship.
All right. Mike has been waiting very
Yes, waiting patiently.
patiently.
Mike, you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute.
I have a quick question that's kind of related. So 2 weeks ago, I was in two different meetings like this that had 5 recruiters as hey, you can ask questions. And it was kind of shocking because it was opposite of what I thought. The first one on Monday, somebody asked, hey, how many emails do you get from applicants a day? And all 5 of them said 1 to 5 at the most. And then the meeting on Thursday, different meeting, different group, different recruiters, they all said the same thing. So I'm wondering, is that true from your all's wisdom?
Yeah, oh yeah. Most candidates do not email us. They'll send an application and that's it. And they don't follow up or anything. And that's probably because we've all told them over the years, don't flood the recruiter. Don't call us, we'll call you. But that also means now that it is a road less traveled. It's the same thing like with marketing, how many people actually send direct print mail to your home anymore? Very, very few. It's normal email. So sometimes print marketing actually can be more effective because so few people are doing it. So yes, it could be that, if you do reach out via email, you might get noticed just because most people aren't doing it. It's true. Interesting question. All right. Other questions?
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
So this week I'm connected with some of my contacts, and they've been very good about providing me with introductions. So it's been productive from that standpoint. I always kind of debate, like, how long should I wait? Should I wait for them to make the first move? Should I don't want to seem like I'm really aggressive,
Well, there's a
how
way
long should you? give them,
It's not about how long necessarily. It's more about how do you tee up that intro. So here's a thought for you. This is what I typically recommend. So let's say you've finished, you're wrapping up a call with Sally, okay? And Sally says, "Yep, happy to introduce you to my friend Bob." Great. Here's what you can do to be proactive. You can say, "Wow, Sally, thanks so much for agreeing to make that referral. And I recognize you're really, really busy, and I know you have great intentions, but I know you're busy, right? And we're all human, and it's possible to forget. Would it be okay, Sally, if I sent you a tickler email and actually teed up the intro for you? I would just write it professionally. Hi, Sally. It was great chatting with you. Thanks for agreeing to recommend me to Bob, to refer me to Bob. Here's my resume attached. Here's a little 2 sentences, 3 sentences about what I'm looking for. And then you can say, Sally, I'm going to send that to you. All you have to do is hit forward and write a quick note and CC me in the intro, and then I will be happy to follow up." Man, that takes all the pressure off her. You've given her the language. It's a tickler in her inbox, so she doesn't have to forget it. Now, she might not do it in 5 minutes, but it's there, right? And then she doesn't have to, because that's the thing with when people make introductions, A, they have to find the time, and B, they have to think about what am I going to say? And they don't necessarily know the language, but if you prompt them and give them the language, it makes it so much more helpful, the tickler and the messaging. Is that helpful?
Yeah, well, I've done that, but this was, I guess my question was more of when I'm introduced to the new person, how long should I wait for
Oh,
the new
oh,
person to
oh.
respond back?
You don't have to do that. You can be the first one to write. Do you do that, or you
Okay.
just wait? Yeah, you can. You can say so. Sally Bob, right? So you can so Sally introduces you to Bob, and then you can reply all, and then you say thanks, Sally. Move to BCC in parens. Hi Bob, great to meet with you. Great to meet you. Great to
Mm.
connect with you. Da 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 da. Da. Look forward to meeting with you. Hey, would any of the following times work for your schedule? Give them three options. Would any of the
Okay.
following times work for a 15-minute call? That's it. Because if you don't
Okay.
do that, A, it's just going to sit in Bob's inbox. And because he doesn't have he's not incentivized to write you back. You're the one who has the need. Number
Mhm.
two, if you don't give any times, then they have to think of what time works, and then it's all the back and forth scheduling. Give them 3 options, and at least it's something that they can choose from, like an early lunch, late kind of thing.
Okay. All right. Yeah, great advice. And I have done that, what you had mentioned first with the intro, because one of my contacts said, "Well, I don't even know what I'd say to this person." I'm like, "Well, here," and I
Mhm.
jotted it out. And I said, "Here, just forward this on," and he copied paste, and it worked to get me an interview. So
Yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Make it easy for people.
yeah, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
To add on to that for everyone else on the call too, which I hope this doesn't sound too simplistic, but the incentivize that Shira mentioned, if it's me and I'm in the job search, or me in business, and I'm the one that's doing the looking or doing the needing, and also just in the busy world that we're in now, and me forgetting to do yet another task that's on my to-do list. If I can, as soon as I can, I'm the first to go ahead and get it done, get it out there, and now I'm waiting. And that's just kind of my auto, is if I can, I go ahead and send my part, and then I'm like, all right, it's out there. And sure, we talk a lot on this call about planting seeds, and then just going about your business and letting them grow, and you come back later and you look up and it's a full tomato. Just go ahead and plant the seed. And I come from a farm family too. Why let it sit there for 5 days? Go ahead and get it in the ground. That could be 5 days of germination right there that's happening, and I'm moving on to other things.
And also, speaking of farming, we use this analogy here sometimes, is that every job seeker, and frankly, every business person, you have to be like a farmer. You've got to plant lots and lots and lots of seeds. We call it the funnel. In sales, they call it the sales funnel, because the farmer knows that the birds, the wind, and the rain are going to eat 50% of them. You have to plant tons more seeds than you expect to grow as a harvest. Again, sales funnel, sales pipeline, you plant lots and lots of networking seeds, and then a little bit at the end is actually going to come out. Many more than actually what you think is going to happen. Never expect a one-to-one. Now, William, to your point though, if it's a clean introduction, like somebody's actually brokering the intro, hopefully, right? That'll work. But even then, you don't know, because you don't know about the other person, their schedule, their interest in meeting you. You just don't know. That means you have to go again, have many, many, many more contacts than actually will probably come through. And that's your goal. More, 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 more. Never think a one-to-one. I plant a seed, I'm going to get a harvest. It's this many that comes into this many. All right. Any other questions before we wrap up? All right. So we're going to go ahead and formally, excuse me, end the call. I'm going to lead you guys into a short prayer call for anybody who would like to stay on the call with me. Vernon Alke, I know we have a call at 10:30, so we'll just meet back at my other link. I think I sent you my other one.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll be talking a little bit later. So anyway, I wish everybody a blessed day, and we'll look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks.